Good morning, guys. Welcome back to our tutorial series. So this morning, guys, I will show you how we're gonna add Swagger to the ASP.NET Core 3.1 API. Because in our previous demo, we are using .NET 6, .NET 7. Once you create the API, everything, the Swagger is already installed there and it's working. But in .NET 3.1, Swagger is not by default. So if you're going to fire your endpoint, you have no, you cannot use Swagger, but you have to install first the Postman so you can, or other API tools that you can fire on API tools. So far as I know, it's only Postman, but since I'm not installed Postman here, so I want the Swagger. So as you can see, I already installed here in this project. So because this is 3.1, okay, so I downgrade to 3.1 because I have some, yeah, our server that we are going to use is currently configured to use .NET Core 3.1 and not .NET 6, .NET 7. So anyway, I will show you, this the demo. This is the application that already have the Swagger. So I can have now the Swagger, but it's not by default. So how we are gonna install it so you can have it? First thing that you have to add, so yeah, we have to install first our NuGet package. So the name of the NuGet package is the uh, this one. So you go to your tools NuGet package, but I already installed it. This one. So this is swabacol that is p.NET Core. If you can see in my dependency, you can have now this one. There, the swabacol that is p.NET Core. So it has all the files. So after it's being installed now, we need to configure it in our startup classes. So you have to go to your startup classes. Yeah, start out and configure services. Here, configure services. So you have to take note that you have to install this before your add MVC or add ESP.NET Core. So here in the configure services, I already added here. So after the add controllers, and this one is my entity framework. Okay, and this is my connection, and then this is Swagger Gen. So this is the installation, guys. So swagger.doc is at version 1, OpenAPI ID, the title, the version, the description, the contact. I just put my name here. And after that, guys, it's being configured in your configure services. You have to add it configure in your configure method here below. Configure method, this is where you have to add use Swagger that will enable middleware to serve the generated Swagger JSON API. And then of course this one, Swagger UI. So Swagger.endpoint, you will call the Swagger JSON. And for you to have the Swagger that will put you in the endpoint in the root, and to serve the Swagger UI at application root feed, so you have to set the route prefix property to empty, and that is why here it's empty. Yeah, so that's basically short. And then after that, of course, you can have now your Swagger. So I will just fire it out. So far we have now here the Swagger. So I can test now my API. So I have created the API for my request type. So if I can use this get, I will just try it out. And so it's part now of the application. I just have to go to the Postman and fire it. So I can just execute from here. And then you can see now I have able to query. Okay, if I take a look in my SQL server, so this is now my SQL server. So I have to look at my database if it has the data. So I am using this database. So this is created by the migration. So this is the table that I'm working. But and later on, I will have to create an Angular front end to serve this API. So I have this. All right. So that is what we're able to get. Now we'll try the add. So don't forget to subscribe, the guys, and hit the bell button so you will be notified in the upcoming video. Because in the upcoming video, we will use Angular to consume this API. Alright, so that's very exciting. We learn together by creating an Angular SPA, single page application. So this table type ID is identity in SQL Server. So basically, it will automatically create increment an ID. So for example, I just have to add another request type internal. Sample internal request. I will add it, execute. So as you can see here guys, it's now respond type 201. And we take a look in our SQL server, it has already two records. And then if we look also in our endpoint to query, it's still also display should display two records as well. So it has two records now. So identity is performed by SQL server by one, increment by one. Alright, so like for example, we have to try the other endpoint. So this is how you try your endpoint before it can be consumed. For example, in the front end, other developers working and you are working in the back end. And then because if you wanna go into perform, so and then you pass this to your front end developer and then it's not working. So it's basically a shame to yourself. No? You're creating an API that's not working. But in this project alone, if you are just creating it, the project alone, so nothing to worry. It's all you. Okay. So we try this delete if it's working. So we have ID too. So let's try it out. Uh, we have to delete ID too. Here, error bad request and bad properties. So what's the problem here? So I think because I put this as a model, I think it's in my code. It's the problem. So that is what I'm talking about. So we just have to debug from here. So because there is no magic that you can tell, you can assume that every code that you are written is already working as what you expected. So for example, this one I expect this is just very basic that I can delete, but it's not working. Maybe there's a problem here why I'm passing the model as request type. So I think I should have to pass only the ID. So that will be integer ID. Yeah, of course, how can I find the ID? So maybe I have to find that ID. Let's have find ID here. This is predicate. So we should a lambda should have uh, this type as ball, so two parameters. Okay, so okay, yeah, so we did not pass the model. This will be just an integer ID. Of course, we have to just initialize the property of the request model. Request model, we can do that. Request type. This is the type that ID would be equals to, we can do type ID. Okay, let's run it and try to debug. So when we try out, so we are just, yeah, we are not passing the model, but we are just passing the ID. For example, is 2, then we execute. But here, this is the ID2, and then we just create our model here. It's going to our repository pattern. Still bad request. Then here. Try again. I just remove the checking of the model because we are not passing the model. I mean the model state. Why I'm checking the model state, I am not passing the model in the request. So let's have to. So that's why I'm saying, guys, you cannot. You have to debug first your code before passing it. Don't assume that you are thinking is correct, but it's not actually working. So see, it's not found here. Request type that x that id request model that type. This is 0 and this is 2. So what happened? So see, oh guys, this should not be. This should be the request model. That's why it's not functioning. Okay, I think stop it here. So request model should be unit over request type that finds this ID. This is the one that we need to check. 8, 9. try it out. And now it's ready. Debug it from here. Okay, so you find it now too, one that we pass. So now you can remove it, and it's now removed. Okay, guys, so it's successfully so therefore, if we not install Swagger and we did not test our code here because we just think or believe that our instinct once we write the code is already working. So when you pass it to your other developers to consume it, so it's really a simple code delete, but it's not working. So that is why, guys, you just don't assume that your code that's in written is already working. You have to test it, right? So let's say for the update, if it's working, so we need to update. So our we already delete it, so we need to update this one. Okay, we try it out. So type of ID that we're going to update is one, and the description we put it no request. So it should be no request form now. It's have to breakpoint here, the endpoint here. So we pass the model, so that is why we get the run your request form. The type of ID is one that we're going to update. We debug it, check the model is valid, and then we check, we find it. If not null, then we update the description. So the description is now request new form. Alright, so this is our same just as saying this is our unit of work and generic repository pattern. Okay, if you want to watch generic repository and unit of work pattern, you have to I have lots of video there, the previous video. You can check it out. But I just implementing here. So this is my API and this is my class library for the domain and everything about how I access to the database, how I query, add, update interaction to the database using entity framework 4. So it's all of all in this library, and then I just uh, add this as reference to my backend, which is basically the API endpoint. So for example, my connection string is here, and then these are the models, and then of course I created my contract in the repository folder. This is my generic repository. Just like in my previous video, I discussed it step by step on how you create a generic repository and also the implementation of unit of work. So it's basically this is just basically the same. This is the interface unit of work. Now it's not done yet because I have lots of things to do. So basically I'm just showing you that this gonna work also in .NET Core 3.1. So if you have not subscribed, guys, subscribe now and don't forget to hit the bell button so you will be notified because in the upcoming tutorials, coming video, we will be discussing about front end single application which is using Angular 15 and we will consume this API. So the whole process of this project until we deploy it to the web server, well, we'll have a video for that so you can follow it. Yeah, I hope it can help you in your future or in your project as well. So once again, guys, happy learning and bye bye.